This video is for all my weirdos and daydreamers out there. This is the story of how one comic strip turned into a giant storytelling universe. For as long as I can remember, I've always loved going to the movies and seeing the newest Disney, DreamWorks film that was released. My older siblings, they would always take me, and that's really what got me into my love of storytelling. I think the first film I went to see was actually Shrek the Third, and from there, I just wanted to tell my own stories. So I'd always just go around drawing pictures on everything I could get my hand on, kind of putting these stories together, and it would just be really simple things. It would be things that I would see all around me, outside, interactions I would have at school, that type of thing. One day in the 7th grade, I'm in my science class and I'm just drawing like all over my worksheet as I always would do. I don't think I was really supposed to be doing that. And I just drew this comic strip of a boy playing a video game and his mom walks in and she's like, "You need to go play outside." What does he do? He takes his controller outside while the TV is still inside. And I'm like, I like this. This is cool.
I like this one.
Let's keep building on it. I continued making these comic strips over time, just fleshing out the world, the characters, their interactions with one another, all that stuff. Over time, I continued making comic strips centered around this character that would eventually come to be named Chad. And it would really just be based on things that would happen at school, things I would just kind of see happen, interactions with classmates. And I'd always show them to friends and family, and it was just something that was really fun to me. I really enjoyed it. And at this time, I was a huge fan of books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Big Nate, Garfield, all those classic books and comic strips. And that really influenced the style of this comic strip. Fast forward to 8th grade, I started attending this performing arts school, and from there, that really influenced what the story would become. I felt a lot like a fish out of water at this new place, and it took a while for me to gain my footing, but I eventually did. And that really influenced the story of what Chad would become. He would also become a cartoonist who's in this new place, really getting used to this new environment. And I would really just continue telling these stories for friends, for classmates, and just showing them around. Then I get to my junior year of high school at the same school, and everyone's telling me like, "Why don't you get this published? Why don't you start showing it to people?" And I was very hesitant for a little while. I was like, I don't know how people would react to it. I don't know if it's something that, I could really do. But I just said, why not? Let's just go for it. I was introduced to the editor of the local newspaper and really just talked about the series, what it entails and everything. And by that time, I already had 5 years of, concepts, characters, what each comic strip would really entail. And the editor said that let's try it out, let's just go for it, see where it goes. We did it 1 week and it did really well. People responded to it well. And 2 weeks later, we did another strip. And we just kept doing it. Every week would be a new comic strip, really just akin to those old school newspaper strips that I grew up reading as well. And it was really fun. And to this day, I continue to do a new comic strip for those newspapers every Friday. It was so weird too, but in a good way. I would go to the stores locally and I would be wearing, my hoodies, the Chad hoodies I was making at the time. And people would just be like, "Wait a minute, I've seen that somewhere. That's you." And that was so weird. I felt like, a celebrity at the time. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And from there, that's when I really got an idea of how people were reacting to it. Even the owners of the stores would always talk about how much people loved reading the comic strip every week and how fast the newspaper started going. And I was just really happy to see that. Then I get to the end of my senior year. That's actually when the pandemic hit and we had to leave school on March 13th, and we went home for 2 weeks, which turned into a couple of months, straight to the end of the school year. And from there, it was a different type of experience, and it allowed me to have a lot of time to think about ideas and really just continue creating, even in the midst of what was going on in the world. After high school graduation, I ended up attending Morehouse College, and that first year was actually virtual because of the pandemic, but I was able to meet a lot of my classmates online. we were able to still be in contact with one another. It was still great because I got to meet with different creatives who wanted to go into publishing, filmmaking, different creative endeavors. And when I eventually got onto campus for my sophomore year, we were able to actually hang out in person. I started doing these weekly vendor events called Market Friday over at Spelman College, which was for all the AUC students and vendors who had businesses to show and products to show. And that allowed me to introduce the Chad series to a much wider audience of people. And even then, I was still creating a new Chad comic strip every single week. And eventually, it came time to publish the first book because I had been thinking about it for years, 2 years by that point. I was like, Kimarley, you gotta stop putting this off, publish a Chad book. And I was like, okay, what is it gonna be about? What is it gonna contain? And I was like, the content's already there, the comic strips I had been doing for the last 2 years already. So here comes the first book, Chad Against the World, the first volume. You get to see new comic strips as well that are exclusive to the book, and follow Chad in his journey through his freshman year at the fictional Brooksford Arts Academy High School. It was just a lot of fun. It was just a new experience. It was honestly scary because I hadn't done it before. I didn't know how it was gonna go, but it was just interesting to just see how it all turned out, how people reacted to it, and how I was also able to collaborate with different students within the AUC. So yeah, by that time, Chad is a well-oiled machine, weekly comic strip, and eventually I went from 1 comic strip a week to 3 comic strips a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, which allowed me to flesh out the stories and the characters so much more. And it was great because by that time, I already got into the rhythm of creating a new comic strip every week. Even in college, it wasn't too bad keeping up with that. And I said, let's do even more to tell more of this story. Oh, and there's a part I actually missed out. During the pandemic, there was a time when I started developing the first animated Chad project. And it had gone through so many different renditions. At first, it was going to be a Christmas special. It ended up being this animated short where Chad is getting ready for his freshman year at the Brooksford Arts Academy. And it evolved into following him as he's already attending the school. That was really fun to develop, workshop with different people within the AUC, students, professors, people I had met and build connections with. And fast forward to my senior year, I screened the full project Chad's Night Out with students within the AUC. My first screening, and it was just a very cathartic experience. Just to be on that stage and present this project to so many people that I had gotten to know over the years. And it was just a really special experience. That short film went on to be nominated for awards, and it also won an award for Best Animated Film at the 2024 HBCU First Look Film Festival. And from there, the animated series Chad Against the World was born. I was able to work with students from the AUC along with other collaborators to bring this story to life and really just get to see Chad animated. Now, you might be thinking, why is all of this important? Why is Chad an important story for kids and also even adults? I think, to me, the story always represented just connecting with that inner child and staying true to yourself. And I know it's a story that's been told so many times, but it's something that I really wanted to tell in this manner. Keep it very grounded. One of my favorite stories growing up was Peanuts and Charlie Brown, just kind of seeing, how those stories were very philosophical and how they always thought about life and thought about these broader concepts, even though the kids are about 8 years old or so. And I wanted to really just bring that essence to Chad, but also give it its own voice. And I think it's something that's important for young people to just see and really just question everything that you're told, who people tell you to be, and life can really be anything you want it to be. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this story. And the work continues. We're continuing to put out new episodes of the animated series and also new comic strips every week. And as of this video, there is an upcoming installment in the Chad book series, in which you will follow him through his sophomore year and a lot of untold stories that we didn't tell during the weekly comic strips. The biggest thing I want people to take away from this is to really just give it a go. You don't know where something can take you, and I think the biggest thing is the person that you have to become through it. I was always just kind of shy, timid kid growing up. There were always things I wanted to say, but I was worried about what people would think, and I didn't think that what I had to say really mattered. But through telling this story and through bringing it to life, I really had to get out of that, come out of my comfort zone a lot, and really just deal with challenges that made me a much better person. So yeah, that thing you're scared to do, give it a try. You never know. And embrace failure. Not that anything is really a failure, because you're learning and it teaches you what to do better the next time. And you always are gonna keep tweaking. There's never gonna be a perfect rendition of something. It's only going to be better. The first Chad comic strip that I look at today is so much different than one that I did recently. And I'm still very much proud of it, but I also look at how far it has come as a story. Thank you all for listening, staying tapped in with this story. We have many more things to come. If you haven't already, be sure to get your copies of the books and subscribe to this channel for more. Stay tapped in. We're making this thing happen one day at a time. Take care, stay blessed, and stay you. Peace.